Welcome back. Okay, so a few weeks ago, I'm driving back to my home and I'm driving through the Southern Hills of Hebron. Now, the sun was already setting, it was getting really dark, and I'm just in this windy road over the ridges. There's no like signs, no big, visitor centers, just me and the road. And suddenly, literally out of nowhere, I see a single flickering light on a hilltop. Now, this isn't like a big city or a town. It's one family, maybe two families living in the middle of nowhere on this hilltop. And I'm going to say, my brain automatically went like while I'm driving home to my house in the middle of civilization, I'm thinking, what kind of people choose this to live in the middle of nowhere? And not only that, this isn't a place that like invites comfort. We're talking about people who are living on these hilltops and, there may be no electricity, definitely no Wi-Fi. Sometimes there's not even running water, and sometimes it's freezing. But you know what there is there? Land. They're not there by accident. These people are there because they are choosing to go back to our roots, and this area is where our roots begin. We had an episode about Hebron. We talked with Yishai. Definitely go check it out if you haven't listened to it. But Hebron is from that word, with the word connections, and this is the place that connects. So we are going to dive into the Southern Hills of Hebron today, a place that connects all the different sides, right? We have the Judean desert in the east and the Atir forest and the green. It all just blends together. But we are going to talk about the land of Judea, the hills of Hebron. My guest today is Ayala Bar-On. She is in charge of the foreign desk at the Regional Council of the Southern Hills of Hebron. And she also spends her days making these connections between Jews and Christians abroad to this specific land. You definitely don't want to miss the interview because in it, she's also going to talk about 3 different amazing spots that you have to add to your itinerary when you are traveling in Israel. And so they're very off the beaten path. You don't want to miss that. We're going to talk about small farms that are having an enormous impact. We'll be talking about Jews who have been here from the time periods of Joshua through the first temple, King David, and all the way through the second temple, and the people, the unique people with the unique character that this land is producing, quite literally. And I want to leave you with a question, as I always do, to think about during this interview, and definitely stick around after the interview so we can answer it and get really, really deep. And the question is, why is it that the land of Judah, this area, it's rocky, it's demanding, it's unforgiving? Why does it keep producing people who are willing to build, defend, believe, work really, really hard, specifically here? And I'm also going to add in, how is this area connected to the tabernacle? Definitely not something that you're thinking about. Definitely something super deep, and you don't want to miss it. Is it a coincidence that these are the types of people that live in this land, or is the land itself doing something to the people living on it? Let's head into the hills of Hebron. Welcome, Ayala Bar-On, to Live Land Podcast. I'm so personally excited that you're here because I love hanging out with you. Especially love hanging out with you in the hills of Hebron. And I actually want to dive in specifically a little bit in that, I guess, to that world. When people hear of the Southern Hills of Hebron, right? For our listeners, we're calling it Hebron, not Hebron, Hebron. They usually think about politics. They usually think, I don't even know where to put that on a map. But you work here every day. And so I want to ask, like, what is it that you actually see when you look at the land, when you drive all through all those hilltops? What is it that you see? What do you feel?
Okay, so thank you, Franny, firstly, for this opportunity. And Har Hebron is a really unknown region. And I'm so happy for this opportunity to talk a little bit about Har Hebron, because I hope that our listeners, they're also listening from some places all around the world, but also from Israel, because people are not familiar, also from outside, but also from the inside. So when I think about Har Hebron, my head is running to the most beautiful place in the world, and I'm not exaggerating, because when you see it, you see actually how it combines the forest. We have on the one hand Yatir forest, and on the second hand, the starting in the beginning of Midbar Yehuda. And this place,
The desert.
yeah, the desert,
The
exactly.
Judean desert.
The Judean
It's like
desert.
forest and desert. Yeah.
Exactly. And I wanted to tell you something that people, when they hear Har Hebron, they're like, I don't know what their associations, but Hebron is from the root of the word is chibur, lechaber, to connect. And you can see also geographically, this is the place where people connect.
That's so beautiful. That's really, really powerful. The name. I'm a really big person into names. I love how Hebrew translates and all the different meanings. Chaver is also a friend. It's also a connection. It's also, I love that. And it really does. It's a huge chunk of land that connects the highest area of Israel. Literally the third tallest mountain is right south of, it's right next to Hebron, Chalchul. And it also connects the desert. It connects the lowlands. You can see it from all over. That's a beautiful, beautiful way to say it. Is there a place or a moment in this work? This job is actually a relatively new field in the Hebron region, the foreign desk or the connection of like international relations with this area of the country, which is really, like you said, even Israelis who would watch this would be like, we don't know what they're talking about. It's an area that's like no man's land. People think that's what it is. And then you come, and all of our listeners, this is your invitation to come. And you should do this, by the way, through Judea and Samaria Experience, who can help you figure out the best way to actually travel here. But when you do come, and we're going to talk about these spaces, it's like this magical world, like you said, that people don't know about. So for you, how did you step into this space? Like, how did you get into what you do today?
Okay, so I will start it with a lot of God help, but actually on the last 3 years, I was very much involved in the Jewish agency on the Connect Unit department. And I realized that there is a whole structure that is being built through federations in North America and some other communities in Israel. So I was involved with the Greater Metro West Federation in New Jersey, and Ofakim, and Motza Azorit Merchavim, and Arad. And I saw how amazing it is, because people in the States are actually, they want to build those connections, and they're more than happy to invest in those connections. And in Federation, they're actually a department that the whole goal is to build those bridges, Israel Engagement Department. So after 3 years, I gave birth to my third kid, Neta, and I thought to myself, I live here in Har Hebron. Why won't we build a partnership with other community? Because on the most basic level, this is so important, because we realize today that half of the Jewish people are not living here in Israel. And I asked myself what I'm going to do about it. So I offered our mayor to open an international desk. And the first goal for the international desk will be to build a partnership. And he said yes. So I started it like in the last month, and there's a lot of things that are going on. I think it's too early to start to say what is happening, but it's happening, and we're connecting, and we feel very blessed and fortunate to do it. So this is how I got to this position.
It's literally the words, like you said, right? It's like Hebron, the connection. How can it be that in Hebron we don't have this link, right? And again, it's not even the city of Hebron. It's like the whole region. It's one of the largest regions, right? Regional councils. It's huge.
Yeah, it's 1 million dunams. It's
wow.
From one place, from Tele Madora, which is the most in the north, in the Yishuv, the community that is located in the northwest part of Har Hebron. It will take you 1 hour to get to the southern part in Har Hebron. It's
wow.
huge.
It's very big. And also it's very diverse. The communities there are really, really diverse.
That's also true, and this is also a point that people are not so familiar with, because when you click Har Hebron on Google and you see things on the news, so you see a certain image. But when you come and you visit and you see the communities, I live in Tene, which you have secular people and the religious people.
Religious people.
Yes, and you have some other places that are only religious or only traditional people, Masortiim, so you can find everyone here.
Yeah. So working in this region, in such an important desk, such an important job of connecting this region to Jews outside of Israel and to Americans, people all over the world who want to uncover this region and be part of what's happening here, is there a moment, like for you personally, or a place in this region where like the connection specifically to the Bible, to the biblical verses, started feeling more real to you, less like theoretical, like, oh, I know these things happen there, but like maybe for you when you're like driving or meeting someone or bringing someone into this region where you felt like, wow, this is like the actual text coming to life?
So yes, absolutely. We talked about the first kingdom. So it was actually King David's first kingdom was in Yevus, which is Hebron. And with the years when King David was announced as a king, we know that Shaul ran after him and he wanted to kill him. And in the Bible is written that King David found some shelter in the Midbar Zif, which is Midbar Yehuda. In Midbar,
the desert, the Zif Desert.
Exactly, the Zif Desert. So when you travel here and you look at the desert, this is Zif Desert where King David actually wrote psalm songs. And this is the place when he had such an inspiration. So he was able to write those beautiful songs that we can relate to them. And I really understand what he felt, because when you want to find some solitude and quiet and to find God, you can definitely find in the Judean desert. And it's for me, it's very moving. Also the names of the Yishuvim, the communities, Ma'on and Carmel, those are the places when Bible actually happened, like Ish Carmel V'Maseu Ma'on. This is Hebron. This is the places where actually, literally, King David walked. So yes.
Yeah. Does this connect to your story at all when you're walking? Like, can you bring me to a moment that was really exciting, emotional, meaningful for you, walking around in the desert, being in the desert in the past 2 years, the past 6 months, living there?
Yes, sometimes you realize you don't know what does it mean, 1 million dunams. But when you walk into the Yishuvim, and the Yishuvim, the communities are pretty small, like the biggest is 200 families, but we have also 10 families in some certain communities, and you have such a huge landscape. And you look all over, and it's like reminds me a sentence of The Lion King, one day this is all be yours. So you look at it and you say, wow, this is our goal. Like, this is what we need to do now. We need to build houses. We need to thrive. This is our time to build and to live this land.
Okay, so there's also these, you were just saying there's these like hilltop communities, right? There's the larger communities, right? Like, you know, maybe Carmel Ma'on or Susia or Otniel. But there's these small hilltop farms where there's like a couple of families, sometimes even like 1 or 2, sometimes 10. And I think that these are really places that people, A, don't necessarily know about so much, and B, maybe they're very misunderstood, right? I think that maybe could you talk about that? Like, what's the biggest misunderstanding that visitors have about these communities, like overseas?
Okay, so if I think it sometimes relate to Noach HaGvaot.
Let's translate that. Like hilltop youth.
Exactly.
Hilltop youth.
Yeah, and sometimes when people think about those hilltop youth, they're thinking about very extreme people. They're doing extreme things, and a lot of people, they don't know and they don't understand what they're doing there. So it's a good question, because those people are the real pioneers, because they realize that if they won't build that farm on that hilltop sometimes without electricity or without, the water sometimes, yeah. So nobody will be there, firstly, but not for long, because we have those all kind of Bedouin and Palestinians that they don't care. We feel the tensity, they will get there, because if that farm won't build their house on that hilltop, they will come. And after the years, you can see we want to build and we want to grow, and if we won't have those farms, we won't have places to grow to. We will be just, I don't know, tabat chenek, like we'll feel like
we feel choked.
Yeah, exactly. So they're actually like they're pushing their elbows a little bit, and they're struggling, but this is for us, for the next generation, because we're getting bigger, Baruch Hashem, and we want those places to be built, so we will have some place to live in.
Yeah. Yeah. It's intense stuff. Honestly, it's also true that I think that a lot of times it's misunderstood. Like, there's actually like a war. It's mamash a front, right? Where you have like Bedouins or some Palestinians that will literally come onto these Jewish land. It's not land that's owned by anyone else. And they'll bring out their cameras and they'll incite like fights and literally videotape them being like fighting back. And they'll say they started it. It's these Jews that are doing things. And it's really just all twisted. When you actually come and visit the places, I've been there with you personally. It's like the most sweet people who just want to live. They just want to farm. They want to have their goats and their sheep. And it's really quite peaceful.
Yes, and you know what? I think that they're actually living King David legacy, because King David was, on the one hand, he wrote psalms. It was like he had that inspiration, inspiring sight. But on the second hand, he knew how to fight. He knew how to be a warrior. And I think his legacy is actually our legacy, because only from on we have Udi Davidi and Sinai Tor and more people that are really well.
These musicians, these are all Israeli musicians for our listeners. Udi Davidi and Sinai Tor are very popular Israeli musicians, and they all come from these like communities.
Exactly. So this is on the one hand, and on the second hand, the highest amount of people that served in the IEDF on military is the highest per community in Har Hebron. So those are also people that know that on the real time, we need to fight. We need to be there. We need to defend our communities and to defend our nation. So this is, I really feel that his legacy, King David, he's our legacy, and we're continuing what
he like infused it. He infused it in the land, and like people who live here have that, they can connect to that powerful strength and also deep, beautiful, moving art or music.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's really, really, really beautiful. Okay, I have a question. Your personal story of connection to, like, you know, I'd say you're Israeli, you grew up in Israel. You know, how did you become connected to the world of, like, I don't know, speaking English, and let's talk with Jews outside of the country and Christians who want to come outside? Like, how did you get that? Where does that come from?
Okay, so this is the place to thank my parents. They both did Aliyah from two different places. My mom, she's originally from Zimbabwe, and my dad is from Brooklyn, New York. And actually, my mom, she did Aliyah when she was 12 with her parents, but the story of the Aliyah of my dad is a little bit different, because he actually finished medical school in New York, and he was 26 when he decided to do Aliyah. And I'll tell you something, he's very much American. He really wanted to live like the American dream, to build the biggest house, to buy the fanciest car, and to raise a lot of money. And he actually said, no, I know that I need to come to Israel. There's something that is bigger than me. It's bigger than the material things that I might achieve here in the States, and I need to come to Israel. And as a kid, I didn't understand why I did it, because Dad, you can live such, I don't know, better life in a
nice life.
Yeah.
As a doctor, being a doctor in Israel is harder.
It is. It is.
We have socialized medicine. We have like it's a tough place to be a doctor.
Yeah, but beside that, to learn the language, to learn the culture, to be without family, and to start everything from the beginning. And in that moment, I think that I realized that this is something that we need to do, because there is something that connects us, Jews from abroad and Jews from Israel. And there is something that we need to find, we need to describe, we need to say it in the right words, but there is something that connects us. Maybe it's the land of Israel, I don't know, but there is something about us that we must meet each other. And I found myself throughout the years, like, always working with people from all over the world, through Birthright and Swiswise and Jewish Journey and whatever, because I always felt that connection, that we must connect. We must know one another.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I remember when I married an Israeli and I also moved here. And I was like, I have to speak to our kids in English. And my husband's like, English? We need only Hebrew in our house. I said, but someone has to be connecting the people outside of Israel to Israel. You are that, Ayala.
Thank you.
You're the one doing that. And I want to ask practically, what does that look like practically for like the Hebron area? What does it mean to turn it into a relationship? Like to, like not just a destination, but what does that mean for you? Like, what do you do? What's your goal? What's the goal?
Okay, so I really believe in a partnership because I think now is the time to realize that we both have something to put on the table. So a partnership to build like a sister city to Al Hebron, this is the highest priority for me because we can, there's some people that want to invest on or donate or whatever, but that's good and I bless that. But more than that, I want to build a partnership. I want to tell the people from the outside, we want to shake a hand with you. We want to build this land together, and we also want to learn about you because a lot of Israelis, they're not familiar about how is to be a Jewish person in the States, what is anti-Semitism, how it feels like, and what are the challenges. And I think that people in the States, they choosing every day to live as a Jews. Sometimes as Israelis, we're not so aware of that because we live here in Israel. Everything is Jewish, and we're not. I don't know how much we like choosing it. And I really admire actually the people from the outside, from I don't know, all over the world that actually they're living Jewish life, and it's harder. It's harder. So building those partnerships, those bridges, this is our goal.
Wow, and honestly, for our followers here who are not Jewish, who are Christians, I think it kind of speaks to that too. Like the idea that like of having a connection, a partnership, because even that world of right now, the world is so dark. To be standing up with truth and with light and with morality and the morals of this, we call them like the Torah values, which are not, they're for the whole world. When there's a disconnect, it doesn't work. I think that's very, very, very deep. Okay. I want to talk to our visitors for a second, and we want to hear from you. What are the must-see places? The people who are listening are like, okay, Ayala, I'm coming to the Southern Hebron Hills. Where must I see? Like, give me your top 2. You have to go to these 2 places.
Only 2?
You need 3.
Okay.
3.
Okay.
Top 3.
Okay, thanks.
Top 3.
So actually, people are not...
But I want the ones that no one visits. Like, not the city of Hebron. People go there. Like, give me like a couple that like people probably haven't even heard of, and they're like, wow, I have to put that on my list now of things that I have to see.
So Luli chocolate, that will be the first one. People are not so aware of that. And Franny, you need to come again. I will show you Luli chocolate.
I haven't even been there.
I know. So this
follow up. I'm gonna put it on the podcast.
Thanks.
Tell us about it.
So Luli chocolate is a really sweet place. Literally sweet. This is in Otniel community. There's a couple. The name of the guy is Nufar. The name of the woman there is Liel. And they're actually making chocolate. They're making it from the most core ingredients. They actually have all kind of nuts. And they're making in Otniel fantastic chocolate in so many different flavors. Sometimes with zatar and sumsum
zatar chocolate.
Yeah.
Guys, zatar chocolate. Can you imagine? Or like black sesame seeds chocolate
and pumpkin spice. So, guys, if you want
pumpkin spice chocolate, I can get on that train.
If you want to taste the most unique but echuti, in the most quality,
unique and high quality
chocolate, this is the place. Luli chocolate in Otniel. This is the first place.
Okay. So that's the first set. And if you have kids, I'm sure they do like workshops.
Exactly. Yeah.
Amazing.
Actually, they lived in the Golan and they moved to Otniel because they fell in love in Har Hebron. And now, if you will come, so you fall in love double time. Also from the region, but also from the chocolate. So
the chocolate, it's the go-getter. Okay, so Luli chocolate's on our list.
Okay,
next.
Okay, the wineries, and this is a high competition because we have also La Forêt Blanche and we have Dremia, and they're both like they won so many prizes. Of course, we have Yatir winery in Bikat Arad Valley, but any winery in Har Hebron, you won't regret it. So second thing is the wineries.
The wine.
Okay.
I have to now make a plug. I think that at some point on this show, I'm going to have to do a series about wineries in Judea and Samaria because It is, hands down. The stories, beyond just tasting the wine, which you have to actually come to Israel through Judea and Samaria experience, like you have to actually come. But just the stories are incredible. Okay, so the wineries and chocolate.
Tel Ma'on is a
Yes,
place when
Ma'on.
you found a menorah, if I'm not, זה חושבת מבית ראשון, from first,
From the first, yeah,
כן,
from
נכון?
the first temple time.
Exactly. So if you want to find some really rooted history from first temple, Al Hebron. This is the place where Jewish
Wow.
people lived thousands of years ago.
Wow. 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 Okay. Okay. First of all, I think that just with that, people are excited to come. And also, there's also the farms. The farms are so cool
That's
in
true.
this region. Definitely amazing.
Actually, in
So,
Franny, we have like tours that are oriented to the farms. We have in Har Hebron almost 30 farms. So if people want
yeah.
like to tour those farms and to taste the cheese and to meet the people, to hear the stories, so this
Yeah.
is can absolutely, we can work it out.
Amazing. Guys, you're not going to regret adding this to your list of Judea and Samaria traveling. So I have a question. If you look ahead, like 10 years from now, what would you hope that people in 10 years, through your work and through our work of trying to help bring people and highlight these areas, what would your hope be that people would see around the world, what they would associate? What would you want them to associate with the Southern Hills of Hebron in 10 years from now? What's your goal?
I really want them to get inspired, like to think about Hebron and to see, wow, what a great people, what a beautiful region. Wow, we want to come again, to give them a sense of feeling that they can always come again, and we want them to come again. And this place is flourishing. It's not hardcore. This is a place when you can actually enjoy chocolate. You can actually do some jeeping, jeep the place.
Jeep tours, chocolate tours, wine tours.
Exactly. This is not extreme. Maybe it was in the previous years. Now we're on the second stage when we can actually host people. It's joyful. It's full of life. It's full of color. So I want them to be associated with a really good experience and also inspiring experience. Like they will be amazed by the people that actually live in Har Hebron.
That's amazing. Do you have any stories, like, of people that you've met that live in Har Hebron that inspired you, that moved you, that made you like cry from joy or cry from emotion?
Absolutely.
Like things that really, I would love it if you could share something with us.
So the first person that actually pops to my mind is Menachem Kalmanzon, which he also lives in Otniel, but his story is so moving. And
I hope to have him on our podcast. I hope to have Menachem on.
So he's, wow. I will tell you like shortly, on October 7th, his brother, he was on a Shin Bet, and he realized what's happening. So he said to...
The Shin Bet is like the CIA
Like Mossad,
of Israel. The CIA, FBI of Israel.
Exactly.
Top secret stuff.
So his brother said, something is happening, something terrible, and I'm going to the Gaza envelope to see what's going on. Are you coming with me? So Menachem said, yes, I'm coming. And together with their nephew, Itiel, the three of them ran to Kibbutz Be'eri. And they realized what's happening. And they started to pull people out from the kibbutz to the ambulances, to the hospital. They worked for hours. They were able to rescue a pregnant woman on her 9th month. They rescued so many people, children, adults. And his brother told him, you know what? When I'm coming to rescue the people, I'm not doing it like in a hurry. People need to take their glasses. They need to breathe for a moment. It's not what you do. It's how do you do it. We want that the trauma will be minimized as possible. So for hours, they rescued people's life. And when it was getting dark, Menachem told his brother, Hanan, we must go back home. My hands are shaking. My panas, my flashlight ran out of battery. We need to go back home. So he said, one more house. And they went to the last house. And in that house, there was a terrorist that shot El Hanan. And Menachem held his brother And he took him out. And from that moment, his legacy is we need to stand together. Because it doesn't matter that I'm from Otniel. It's in Yudah Shomron, Judea and Samaria.
It's like an hour and a half away from Be'eri.
Exactly, but it's also, people are religious in Otniel mostly, and in Kibbutz Be'eri, they are very different.
Mostly secular.
And
politically different, left and right.
But for them, it didn't matter because they live in Hebron and they live in chiburim, they live in connections. And when it comes to those values of saving people's lives, it doesn't matter who you are, what do you think, we're here for you. And actually, from Kibbutz Be'eri, after the war was over, they took some trees from the kibbutz and they planted them in Otniel. And in Otniel, they wrote also Sefer Torah together with the members of Kibbutz Be'eri, and those connections are being built until this very day. So it wasn't just one thing that they did. Until now, we are holding connections between Otniel, and I think all the people around the world need to understand that this is happening. Har Hebron with actually Kibbutz Be'eri. So this is our connections, and this is our goal, and this is what we're here for, to connect.
Wow. That's so powerful. That's so powerful. Wow. Yeah, I hope to have Menachem on, and shout out to the listeners. You do not want to miss that episode.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Ayala, I wanna do a couple of rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, I wasn't ready for it in advance, but let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. If you could take any biblical figure that you'd want to talk to on these hills. I know you're going to say David HaMelech, but part of me is like, say someone different. Challenge yourself. Anyone else? Stop. If you want to take David HaMelech, you can. But like, who would you hang out with?
Okay, so anyone from the Bible?
Anyone. For you, Ayala.
Okay.
Like, not that, give me like, who does Ayala want to sit and hang with?
So I'll say, if it's not David HaMelech, I will say Avraham Avinu. And I will tell you why.
Okay.
Because Avraham Avinu, when it was the hottest days in the summer, he sat in front of his tent and he waited for people to come. And this is also like how did he do it? Like, he really didn't just invite it, he waited for them. So this is also something that I really wanted to hang out with him and to give me some of this. Give me some more inspiration and tell me how to do it.
Wow. You want to be an Avraham.
Actually, my second name is Sarah, so maybe Avraham or Sarah. I will take both.
Sarah. You could also ask her. She did a really good job, opening her tent. And she also lived in the region. Could be a good one. Okay. What is one word that describes the land of the Southern Hills of Hebron before you knew it, and one word that describes it for you now? So you can think.
Yeah, the first word. Actually, I know Har Hebron for many years, but before I knew it, I think it's like no man's. How do you say it? Like
no man's land.
Bidiyuk.
No man's land.
And after I got to know it, inspiring.
Beautiful. Okay, and for our listeners, Ayala, if you could recommend a book that you think people must read, could connect them to Israel, connect them to our history, connect them to the land, something that Ayala would recommend, what would it be?
הגיבור שבדלת ממול, and we actually give it as a present for people that we love. So if you come to Har Hebron,
who wrote it?
Naftali Chen, I think. It's also about
Naftali
Chen. It's also about the heroes on October 7th that did the most unbelievable things. So Gibor Ma'adelet Mimul, it's like this is
it's the hero from the door across the street.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they have it in English, and if they don't, they should.
So Franny, you have this book next time you're coming. It's waiting for you.
Wow, yeah, I'm gonna have to read it. Ayala, thank you so much.
Tadala.
I hope that all of these listeners are now like adding it to their itinerary. They have to come to the Southern Hills of Hebron. They have to come hang out with Ayala. There's so many things that the Regional Council of Southern Hebron are creating all sorts of different types of tours, winery tours and hilltop tours and history and literally so many. And obviously, if not for any of that, then for the chocolate.
Thank you, Franny.
Ayala, thank you so, so much. Okay, let's get to our question that we opened with. What is it about this land, the rocky hills of Judea, the unforgiving terrain of the Southern Hills of Hebron? What is it about this land that produces some of the most incredible people? People who are willing to defend, people who are willing to build on the hilltops, the middle of nowhere, people who are so resilient and so inspired. So I think that in order to do that, we have to dive into the land itself. We have to leave our preconceived notions of what Hebron is, what the Southern Hills of Hebron, these hilltop, what this area is, and see how does the Tanakh talk about it? Because this is lived in the land, and we have to open up the scripture. We have to get into it. We got to get deep. So the land of Judah, the tribe of Judah that receives and inherits this land, it's not depicted as some beautiful, easy place to live. It's really intense. It's elevation. It's a lot of rock. By the way, I'll even just say the terrain itself is a very, very rocky. It's not so fit for a lot of agriculture. I'd say grapes and olives, perhaps for sure, but anything broader than that really doesn't work well in this area. And it's interesting because we actually see that in a really interesting story in Shoftim, Judges. And it's a story that literally you could totally skip over. You probably don't think much of it when you read through these passages, but it's not like some bombastic big story. And Judges is literally it's like it could be a telenovela. It could be the most incredible. This is like for anyone here who's a movie maker, you should totally make a movie out of the whole book of Judges or like a series, and you'll definitely make a lot of money. It's awesome. Anyways, pretty intense. So in Judges, we get to the story of conquering these hills, the areas of southern Hebron, of Dvir, of Kiryat Sefer, this whole section. And Kalev says anyone who is going to be able to conquer this area, because it's really, really, it's a tough fight. The people who live here, the Canaanites in this region are very tough. Anyone who's tough enough to conquer it, he is going to win my daughter's hand in marriage, his daughter Achsah. And sure enough, Otniel, son of Kenaz, defeats these kings and conquers the land. Now, Otniel, we talked about him also with Ayala. There's a town called Otniel. Menachem Kalmanzon is from there. I'm definitely going to try my best to do a whole episode about his story. It is absolutely mind-blowing and so, so inspiring. But this Otniel and this story, let's dive in for a minute, because Achsah is like, okay, getting married to Otniel. I'm going to go down and live in the land of the Southern Hills of Judea, of Hebron. Let's do it. And this is what it says. Ready? I'm reading through from passage 14. Okay. And when she comes, right, Achsah, when she arrives, after having asking her father, Caleb, right, Kalev, for field, she's like, okay, I'm going to marry this guy. Give us a plot of land. And where does he give it to her? Right here. She falls off of her donkey. Oh my gosh, why is she falling off her donkey? Well, Vayomer la Kalev malach, and Kalev's like, what's wrong with you? Why are you falling off your donkey? Why are you so upset? V'tomer lo hava li bracha, ki eretz hanegev natanani. Oh man. And she says to him, give me bracha, grant me blessing, because you gave me the Negev. You gave me a dried up, not the Negev of Israel, not to be confused, but they have a connection. Why is the Negev of Israel? If you look on a map of Israel, the Negev is the largest portion of the country. It's also where we have the most amazing like hiking and desert and really cool wildlife, cool stuff in the Negev. That's not for this episode. But why is it called the Negev? It's also south, but Negev is from the root naguv, something that's wiped up. When we say to wipe something up in Hebrew, we say lenagev. It's wiped up of water. There's literally no water. So she's saying, you gave me a land with no water. I'm on this rocky terrain with a bunch of caves, no fertile land, no way to actually live here. What am I supposed to do? Give me a blessing. Oh, man. She marries like a very blessed guy. Otniel is like probably one of the smartest, most brilliant Torah scholars of that time. Probably more than Yeshua, probably more than Kalev. And at the same time, he's also this like warrior. We're going to talk about that as well. But she needs blessing. She needs bracha. And so it says, ונתת לי גולות מים וייתן לכלב את גולות עילית ואת גולות תחתית. And please give me, she says, give me these springs of water. So he gave her gulot ha'alit, it's like the upper springs and the lower springs. By the way, you could totally go see those springs. Not an easy place to get to, but I've been there personally and it's incredible. He doesn't give her, what's the answer? He doesn't give her like a different plot. He doesn't give her a fertile like valley somewhere off of the Judean lands. He says, I'm going to give you springs. It's not rivers, it's springs. You have to dig deep. There's depth. And that, I think, is really what this area is about. It's about that depth. And honestly, if I want to compare for a second, because we here are live the land and we are diving into Judea and Samaria. And if you look at the map, okay, Judea and Samaria, if I were going to talk about it in tribe language, like which tribes are living there, Judea is pretty obvious. South of Jerusalem, you have the land of Judah, the areas of Hebron, Hebron being the capital of that region, the land around it, south of Jerusalem. North of Jerusalem, Samaria really is referring to the tribes of the sons of Joseph, right? Ephraim and Manasseh, that's the region. It's north of Jerusalem. And I can't help but compare them. If we really want to understand the step, let's use a comparison for a second. When the tribes, before they go into the land, before Moshe dies, he blesses these tribes. And you can tell a lot just by the blessing. And these blessings, by the way, are definitely connected to the land and the inheritance that each tribe is going to get. We could do a whole class on just like what tribes get what and what they're blessed. But I want you to listen for a second to Moshe's blessing to Yosef, right? Samaria, okay? Just listen to it. I'm going to read it in English because it's kind of long and just for time's sake. You know, I'll read the first part in Hebrew. I'm reading from Deuteronomy, from Dvarim, Lamed Gimel, Kaf 33, passage 13. וליוסף אמר, מבורכת אדוני ארצו, ממגד שמיים, מטר ומתיחום רובצת תחת. Wow, it's so beautiful, right? And of Yosef he said, blessed by the Lord be his land, with the bounty of heavens, with dew and the deep waters that lie below, with the bounty brought forth by the sun and the bounteous yield of the moon, with the best of the age-old mountains and the bounty of everlasting hills, with the bounty of earth and its fullness, and the will of him who dwelt in the bush. May these rest on Joseph's head, on the brow of the prince among brothers. His glory is that of the firstborn bull, his horns, the grand horns of a wild ox, and with them he gores the people. Okay, I'm going to stop now. This is like going on. How many times did I say the word bounty? You should just rewind this, listen to it, and count them. There's a lot. And it's bounty of the land. And if I think of the area to the north of Jerusalem, the Samarian hills, they are literally the most fertile lands of Judea and Samaria. You have the valleys of Tirzah, whoa, intense agriculture. The valley of Shechem, the valley of Jenin, the valley of Shiloh. There's so many valleys. And also that area receives more rain. The actual earth is more fertile. So essentially that is an area of immense fruitfulness, immense bounty. If I compare that to the blessing that Moshe gives to Judah, it just jumps out of the passages, right? So this is what it says. V'zot liYehuda v'yamar shema Adonai kol Yehuda. And this is to Yehuda. And he said, God should listen to the voice of Yehuda. What does that mean? Prayer. Yehuda is going to be the beginning of prayer. And I think about like King David, we talked about it in this episode. He is going to be the pinnacle and the beginner of I would say the most important prayers that we have, which is Psalms. So we have this idea of prayer, spirituality. And you should bring the nations, gather the tribes, his nations through him, right? He's going to be the leader. He's going to be melucha, kingship. David's going to start that unity of the tribes, right? That's going to come from Yehuda, from Judah. And then it says, V'yamar Shema Adonai kol Yehuda. And this is to Yehuda. And he said, God should listen to the voice of Yehuda. What does that mean? Prayer. Yehuda is going to be the beginning of prayer. And I think about like King David, we talked about it in this episode. He is going to be the pinnacle and the beginner of ידיו רוב לו ועזר מצריו תהיה. He's going to have very strong might, right? Strong might. This is like military might. And God will always help him against his foes. So we have this military strength. We have this total spiritual inspiration and prayer and no bounty. That's why Achsah was so upset. Now, she didn't like say, I'm going to, please give me something different. But she says, give me blessing. Like, let me figure out how to work with what I have. And that's going to be the answer, is finding the depth. I think that we have to go to David when I talked about this with Ayala. David is described in Shmuel Bet, Samuel 2. He's described as Adino Ha'etzni. Adino Ha'etzni is a very, very strange description. In fact, commentaries really do kind of like try to pull it apart. What does it actually mean? And there's a beautiful radak. What is Adino? Adin is something that's gentle. Etzni is from the word tree, something that is fierce and strong and mighty, like utzma, strength. So you have on one hand this softness, on the other hand, this strength. And that is King David. And the hills that raise King David are these hills, the hills of Judah, the southern hills of Hebron. This is the area, this is the terrain, this is the terroir of King David, right? And I think that, so what does the Radak say? The Radak says, Adino, when he would learn Torah and compose his music and connect to God, he was so soft. And when he would fight his enemies, he was fierce. And you have this perfect blend, an actual perfect blend, perfect type of human. And that is born from these lands. And when Ayala is telling us about the people who live in these areas, those are the people that you meet. Those are the people that this land gives forth to. And I think that sometimes the idea really is that the land that we live on, it brings the challenges that it has, right? You think of those two lights on the hilltop that I talked to you guys about before. That's a really challenging way to live. You can't do that without inspiration. You can't do that without something elevated and higher, without spirituality. We think of Otniel, who's this huge Torah scholar, right? And at the same time, a fierce conqueror. And you think of Achsah, who sees the reality for what it is. I can't just live off of inspiration. I need something physical. And that something physical and that fierceness is born out of having to work for it. And I think that's something that is, I guess, the sense of spirituality or spiritual sensitivity. The sense of spiritual sensitivity and the physical courage coming together. And that's like what Ayala was describing, whether it's the artists or whether it's the soldiers or the families or the hilltops or any of those things, those people within them, you see this pattern. The land here doesn't flatten people with its intensity. It forms them. It grows them. It elevates them to this higher level of something that is so deep. It brings responsibility. It brings presence. It brings hard work. And honestly, I think that in our lives, the things that we work hardest for are the things that grow us the most. Sometimes it looks like chocolate that you make in Otniel. Sometimes it looks like a nice glass of wine from a vineyard on a slope. And sometimes it's a small flickering light on a hilltop that refuses to be extinguished. That's what this area is. And I know that I asked a question about the tabernacle and the Mishkan, but my thought is I actually want to save that for a different episode. It's a very deep teaching about the lands of Judah and the lands of Samaria. We'll do it a different time. And in the meantime, I want to ask you, where do you find the balance of courage on one hand and strength and physical might and softness and emotion and sensitivity? I think that all of us need a blend of that in our lives. And this is a teaching that comes from not just the people who live in this land, but for anyone willing to listen and to think about it and to learn. So I guess this is my challenge for this week until our next episode. What is it, where is it in your life that you find these tendencies? Where is it that I can add? Some of us have more of a tendency to the more spiritual, emotional, sensitive side. And we lack that physical intensity, that push, that fight. And some of us are much more fighters and we are more intense and we're more, defensive or combatant. And where is it that we can add the sensitivity, the spirituality, It's the teachings that we actually take for our own lives that really are the biggest joy and legacy of this piece of land, the Southern Hills of Hebron. Thank you so much for joining today. I'll see you guys next week. If this episode helped you better appreciate Judea and Samaria, you can take it to the next level with the Judea and Samaria experience. They can help you plan meaningful visits to this region, off the beaten sites, tour guides, connect you to local personalities. And guess what? This referral service is completely free thanks to our generous sponsors, Texans for a Safe Israel. Check them out at their website, JudeaSamariaExperience.com. That's Judea without an H, SamariaExperience.com. You won't regret it.